Okay, this is where the real fun starts. We're just about ready to take all this information across to the guitar, and you'll find that it's very easy to make up your own solos and also work out what other people are doing on various recordings. But just before we do, let's make sure we know how we're looking at these diagrams. So at the moment we've got the diagrams upside down just for demonstration purposes, and the floor is in this direction here. So the thin string, string number 1, is here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is compare the shape of a C major pentatonic scale, the extended version where we've got this extra note down the bottom here, the A, and we're going to compare that with an A minor pentatonic shape. So let's do that first. Okay, so here we have the A minor pentatonic scale, the extended version, side by side with the C major pentatonic scale. Again, we're comparing the extended version of both scales. Now if you take a moment to have a close look at both these patterns, you'll see they're absolutely identical. The only difference being where we're taking the keynote from. In other words, in the C major pentatonic scale, I've indicated where the note C is. There's the various points in the scale where the C occurs, and down in the A minor pentatonic scale we've indicated where the note A is. So basically, if you were using these fingering patterns, and let's say we were working off string 6 as a reference point, we could say that your little finger, your fourth finger, would be covering the note or hovering above the note C. Now I'm assuming that you're using one finger per fret, your first finger covering the 5th fret. No finger is being played on the 6th fret because there's no note in either of these scales. The third finger would be at the 7th fret, playing the notes that occur at the 7th fret, and our fourth finger would be playing notes that occur on the 8th fret. In a similar fashion, your first finger would be hovering above the key note A as a reference point for the A minor pentatonic scale. Let's take a moment to review before we move on. Assuming we're using string 6 as our reference string, we can use the exact same scale fingering pattern for both the major and minor pentatonic scale. Now to find out which scale we're playing, in other words whether it's a C major pentatonic or an A major pentatonic, to find out what scale we're playing, we're going to use our fourth finger as a reference note. In other words, whichever note our fourth finger is hovering above when we're using this scale pattern, that will give us the name of the major pentatonic scale. Likewise, whichever note our first finger is hovering above, that will give us the name of the minor pentatonic version of this same scale pattern. And now we come to the all-important question. What are we going to do with these scales? It's one thing learning a whole lot of fingering patterns and scale theory, but how does it help you at your next gig? How does it help you work out a song by ear? In fact, you might already know these scale patterns, and you might say to me, well, sometimes they seem to work and sometimes they don't. The trick is to think of these scales as tools in our musical toolbox. We use different types of tools for different jobs, and in the same way we use different pentatonic scales for different styles of music. So let's take a closer look and see just exactly how you'd apply these two types of pentatonic scales. Because this is our basic introduction to lead guitar work, I'm going to keep things very simple and very general at this point. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to say that major pentatonic scales are best suited to country, folk, pop, easy listening jazz, middle of the road, anything that's quite light. So if you had a song that was in the key of C, say you had a country song in the key of C, this C major pentatonic scale would work quite nicely over the chord progression, providing it was a very simple chord progression and all the chords were derived from the C major scale. Now it's time to take a look at the minor pentatonic scale and its application. Whereas the major pentatonic can be used for lighter types of music, the minor pentatonic is used primarily for the darker sounding or more brooding style of music, rock, blues and so on. So what we can say is that this one fingering pattern serves a dual purpose. For example, you may be playing a country song in the key of C, and the very next song in the program might be a rock song in the key of A. Now in that case you could stay in the one position on the guitar. The C major pentatonic scale would work well for the country song, and the A minor pentatonic scale would work for the blues song or the rock song.